Give me 1 second to get the my kitty cat light just lined up a little bit. I wish they would give you a preview of what it's going to look like before you hit the go live button. Give me 1 second. Is that better? That looks good, right? All right, today we're going to talk about my fear of heights and the story behind it and what I am convinced started this fear of heights. So before we begin, as always, I'm going to just ask for your help and cooperation in finding the killer or killers responsible for my Uncle Charlie's death on October 4th, 2011. My uncle was killed in his home in Elizabeth, New Jersey. An intruder broke in or somehow gained access to the house, and my uncle was found stabbed to death the next morning. So if you have any information or you have something to report, I urge you to please come forward. This is now a cold case, but when I spoke to the detectives, they agreed that they would consider reopening it if they received any new information. You can call Crime Stoppers at 800-822-TIPS, TIPS, 800-822-8477. That's for Crime Stoppers. All right, let's do the theme song, and then we're off and running. Who's the girl who never picks up her phone? Who's the girl who's never flown a drone? Who's the girl who loves to bitch and moan? Well, her name is MUBBO. That's me, Mobo. Magnanimous Mobo, or Magnanimous Mobo, as my son now says it. Magnanimous Mobo. So the last time we talked, I was talking about my neon cat, and I gave you guys some homework. I'm going to try to speak louder because I noticed that there's some echo in my microphone. We actually rigged up a little box to put my microphone in, so hope that it didn't catch so much echo. My microphone is right in front of a window. Maybe if I close the curtains, it'll work better. Just give me 1 second here. I'll just close the curtain. Maybe that'll help muffle the vibrations. But then I can't look out the window. I'm going to open it a little bit, guys. All right. So I have some notes here. So as I was saying, I gave you guys some homework last time in response to my neon cat here. I wanted you to listen to In Neon by Elton John and another song called Burning Buildings, which was a very significant song to me, but I forgot to mention one more song. And that song is a song called Passengers. And I believe that it appears on the same album as the other two songs. I think the album's called Breaking Hearts. It came out sometime in the 80s. And I wanted to mention it because along with the two great songs I gave you, Passengers could very well be the very worst song I have ever heard. I don't even know how it appears on this album. I don't even understand how it's an Elton John song. To me, it doesn't seem up to his level. But the most fascinating thing to me is that Passengers actually made the UK charts. I think it went up to like number 5. And when I read this, I was so surprised because I think it's a stinky song. Like it makes what's that terrible song by Starship? We built this world on rock and roll, which is a god awful song. Passengers makes that song sound good. I am just baffled by how this song got into the charts. But it's the UK. And Elton John is very well liked in the UK. He's an icon. Maybe they gave him the benefit of the doubt. Hey, maybe this is a good song. Another thing I wanted to go over is I have a new idea for something I'd like to do on this channel. I'm still kicking it around. It will probably be in a playlist where I'm going to do multiple videos. It's going to be a very, very long series. It has to do with Andy Warhol. And when I get closer to starting that up, I will make a video about it. I don't necessarily like the way that YouTube separates the videos. Like if you go to my page, just go to my channel, it shows that I have no content, but it's only when you start clicking around in the tabs where you find, all my videos are under a live, or all the videos are going to be in their playlist. And I'm having an issue with changing the file name of my videos when I put them up. Like the name of the video just says like live stream. But if you change it to a name that matches the name of the video, you're supposed to get better algo results. Like the algorithm will pick it up, but it just says live stream, and I cannot figure out how to change it. If anybody knows how to do this, can you please just shoot me a comment of how to do this after the video is already posted. Now, when I went through the menu, I didn't see anything for being able to rename the file name. And I don't know if this is just like if you're going to upload a video, you can then change the file name on the video and then upload it. But all of mine are live, so I don't know how to change this. All right, so let's get to the, let me just take off my sweater here. Let's get to the subject of this video, which is what started my fear of heights. Now, as long as I can remember being a little kid, I never had a fear of heights. I was always very adventurous. I was climbing trees. I wasn't a very girly girl. I enjoyed running with the guys and doing cool stuff with them because it seemed like so much fun. Like guys just had more fun. Foot racing, playing very aggressive tag, you're running with all your might, and girls just wanted to stand around. It's not fun to me. That kind of thing is not fun. So I started hanging out with the guys, and I never had a fear of heights. I was never afraid to do anything, but there was one very specific event that occurred to me that now I have a lifelong fear of heights, and it's nothing more than my memory of what happened on this day. So to give you a lot of background information on this is going to be a long video, and it involves a couple of people who will make future appearances in other videos. And as you know, whatever name I give them now, it's going to be the same name in future videos. So if I say, hey, I bumped into Ben the other day, you're going to know that Ben is the person from my Aaron Smith Levin video. It's going to be the same person. So to keep this easy, we're going to just use the same names. So the names are my then very best friend, Marcy, her brother, Jackson, who was a little older. I think he was 1 year older, and our mutual friend. So it was the three of us, and then our mutual friend from school, Alex. Now, Alex is going to appear in another video, a video about what happens to kids that you go to school with and then they grow up and they're completely different people, because Alex became borderline infamous. So I thought that was an interesting story. And I actually had another person in my life who became completely different as he grew up. So Alex is going to feature in another video. So back in grammar school, the four of us all went to the same Catholic school. So I came out of Catholic school. My parents pulled me out in 5th grade along with Marcy, because the 5th grade teacher in the Catholic school was rumored to have been an alcoholic. And instead of teaching the kids, she would just sit at her desk, drink a bottle out of her desk. How they figured this out, I don't know. But our Catholic school was a mix of teachers and sisters. So you had like regular teachers, and then you had the nuns who lived next door at the nunnery. So the four of us were in the school together. My friend's brother, Jackson, was also very big into Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and Alex was as well. Alex was a Cub Scout. I actually have a picture of him in our yearly school picture, and he was dressed very proudly in his Cub Scout uniform. And it's something that they looked forward to. They were involved in it. And Jackson and Marcy's father was a den leader. It was very ingrained in this family, that the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts. And I was a little jealous of this because my mother had this idea that I should join the Brownies, or the girl version of the Cub Scouts. And I joined the Brownies. Now, here's another person who's going to come up later with my other friend, Louisa. Now, Louisa went to a Catholic school different than the one we went to on the other side of town. And her school was sponsoring like an after school Brownies gathering where all the girls would get together, and we would, make little crafts and things like that. And we played 1, 2, 3 red light. And I'm sitting there like, when are we going to go camping? Like, when are we going to do cool stuff? Like, I don't want to do macrame, and I don't want to do paper mache, or excuse me, papier mache, as they say in Europe. I get a lot of papier mache. We call it paper mache here in the US. But that's the crap we were doing. We weren't doing anything fun. But I have to go off on a tangent here. Before I do that, I'm just going to blow my nose. I'm just going to mute the mic for a second. And I remembered to turn the mic back on. So it is springtime here where I live, and the pollen is going crazy. So I have very bad seasonal allergies. Actually, they're like all year long allergies, but I think everybody is suffering right now. So in this Brownies troop, and I'm going to play it for you, the only thing I remember learning is the words to taps. And we would all stand around in a circle, and we'd have our arms crossed, and we would be joining hands with our other Brownie girls, and we would sing the lyrics to taps. And from what I remember, it goes like this. I'm going to play it for you. Ready? Here we go. Day is done, God the sun, from the lakes, from the hills, from the sky. Wait, hold on. All is well, safely rest. God is nigh. God is nigh, not God is nice. Nigh, N-I-G-H. Not like God is nigh, like Bill Nye the Science Guy. Nigh, N-I-G-H. And our Brownie leader made sure to tell us that. So the lyrics are, day is done, God the sun, from the lakes, from the hills, from the sky. All is well, safely rest, God is nigh. I wish I was better at playing the clock. And we would all that was our goodbye thing. We'd all stand there and squeeze each other's arms, and then we'd say, all right, see you next week. Well, to me, it was very boring. And I wanted to get out. So I think I lasted probably 1 year to go with my friend Louisa. Louisa and her folks and my parents were best friends. They did a lot of stuff together. So Louisa's also going to come into play in at least 2 more videos because she's a big one. I'm just going to get a drink here. But I want to go off on a little bit of a tangent to talk about people that come in and out of your lives for very strange reasons. And the brownie teacher at this school, this Catholic school with my friend Louisa, she kept popping in and out of my life at like very strange times. So the first time, I'm guessing, all right, so I'm thinking I'm probably single digits here. I'm 7 or 8 years old. And she was the brownie leader. I'm guessing she was some kind of student teacher. She was pretty young. And then I left, and years go by, and I am in junior high now, in 9th grade. And my grades were good enough where I could take the advanced English class. And it was very exciting because in my town, you finished up 8th grade, and then every person starting 9th grade went to this giant 9th grade school. The entire school was only 9th grade. So we all went there. But if you had advanced classes, you could go over to the main high school, which was 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. So to be able to do that, was a pretty big thing. You got to feel pretty special walking in with the 10th and 11th graders and the seniors, and look at me, I'm here, I'm a 9th grader, but I'm smart enough to do this. And I was very proud of myself until the teacher that I had made it absolutely miserable. Now, I want you to picture John Malkovich, but fatter and balder. And I know that John Malkovich isn't gay, but this teacher definitely was. And mean. Think of him like mean and catty. If you've ever seen the film, and everybody should see this movie, American Movie from 1999. It's a movie about making a movie. And there is a character in there. His name is Tom Shimmels. Now, I had to scramble and look this up because I couldn't remember the name of the movie. I couldn't remember the name of the guy. If you watch American Movie, the character of Tom Shimmels, he comes into being a star in this film that these 2 guys are making. And his first appearance on set, my first reaction was, oh my God, it's the Noof. The Noof is in this movie. The Noof is what I'm calling this teacher, the Noof. Noof, the Noof. Tom Shimmels arrives on set ready to act. He's an actor. And he's wearing a suit with a red tie and a red scarf. And he's got a beret. And he's got a nice suit with like a leather jacket tossed over the shoulders. And he's got a cane. And he's ready to act. And his mannerisms, his way of speaking is a lot like the Noof. Now, I was willing to give the Noof a try. I was very excited to go into the Noof's class. But the Noof also had his little group of his fans, his little following, and he was just a high school teacher. He was a 10th, 11th, and 12th grade high school teacher. But he would have his classroom set up so that his desk was in the front, and the other students' desks were kind of like in a semicircle around him, so that it felt to him like he was in a lecture hall, and he could be the teacher, the instructor. He wasn't a professor or anything. He was just Mr. Noof. And he would have his little groupies, and he would talk to them. And I can't remember learning a single thing in the short time that I was in there. He would sit there and he would talk about nonsense with his little friends. And if you were in the back rows, in like the furthest from his desk, he wouldn't even know your name really. He wouldn't even call on you. He wouldn't, ask how your day is going, nothing. You didn't exist to him. You only spoke to the people who were in a semicircle in the front of the desk. Everybody knows a teacher like this, right? Everybody knows that, which teachers play favorites, whatever. So to say that I did miserably in his class would be an understatement because he didn't teach us anything. Like, we'd sit there all week, and then on Friday, he says, all right, I'm giving you a test, and the test would be in a book that we were supposed to have been reading, but he never went over the book with us. The questions would be, what is the major theme of so-and-so's interaction of what's his name? Broad questions like that, and where it wasn't just a yes or no, you had to write it out in paragraph form. And I had no idea. I didn't know what he was talking about. I didn't know how to look for the things that he was talking about. Like, isn't that why we're in the classroom? He's supposed to be teaching us those things. So my grades started seriously falling. Like, I was just getting D's and F's. Just, he would send the paper back with just a question mark on it, it wasn't a class that you could just fake your way through. Like, you really had to do the work. And I didn't know how to learn this way. So I kind of made this clear to a friend of mine, and he suggested that I just transfer out of the class. Now, I never heard of this before. You could just say, hey, I don't want to be in this class anymore. This was a brand new thing to me, but it was my first year in, high school, junior high. Before, if you had a teacher, you would just go to that class. But now that you're in high school, there's 2 or 3 teachers teaching English. There's 4 math teachers, 3 history teachers, and you could transfer in and out of the classroom if you were really having a hard time. And some people you just don't get along with. I mean, that's just life. So I says, all right, I'm gonna transfer out. I can't do this. So I go in and I bring my paper to the NUF, and all I said was, oh, are you leaving us? Oh, you're leaving? Okay, well, good luck. And then I walked out and I said, F you. Now I wasn't in the high school anymore. I was back with the 9th graders in the regular lower English class, and I felt like such a failure because I knew that I could do it. But there's just something about this guy that I couldn't, we just didn't see. We weren't on the same level. He expected a lot of independent learning, and at the time I didn't know how to do that. So I go into the new English class, now it's like almost second marking period. We had 4 marking periods. So I'm already halfway through the first marking period. It's really hard to start a class mid-marking period because you go into the new classroom and the friendships are already made, and the cliques have started and people know each other, and here you are, a stranger walking into the classroom. And I says, all right, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. So I open the door and I walk into the class, and who's the teacher? Anne-Marie, my brownie teacher. She's there now as an English teacher. I said, this is going to be great. I know her. And I did great in that class. And forget about the NUF, right? Never have to see that NUF again, except I had a really good interaction with the NUF. The NUF, once I got into the high school, was the drama teacher, because of course he was. And aside from teaching English or whatever he was supposed to be doing, he was also the one responsible for the theater group and getting the actors going, and he managed the whole theater thing. And I volunteered, I joined the theater group to be a set builder and doing the backgrounds and the stage, and on the backstage crew. And the new was great. He was really a lot of fun, and he was completely different. He wasn't catty at all. He was really nice. He was very helpful. And it struck me later, much, much later, that the Noof didn't really want to be teaching English. He wanted to be in charge of a theater, but he couldn't for some reason. There wasn't enough work, so he grudgingly became a teacher so that he could get his mitts into what he really wanted to be doing. He made that sacrifice. He spent his days not really liking his job so that he could do the things that he wanted to do. And that didn't occur to me till much, much later on in my life. And now I kind of forgive him, because nobody wants to spend their day doing things they don't really want to do. So I graduated high school, blah, 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 got through everything, got married into a very, I'm not going to say terrible, but it wasn't good for me. It wasn't a good situation. And I decided that I had to get out. I didn't have a lot of money. So I decided to get an attorney and get me out of this marriage and just sign the documents and let's get which was a whole thing in and of itself. I filed for divorce in 95, and I don't think my divorce came through until a couple of years later. Like, it was really a long, drawn out thing. It was before 9/11, but it was way longer than it should have. So for me to file in 95 and it not go through until almost 2000, that's a long time for a divorce. It should have been very quick. So I didn't have a lot of money, and I'm going to get into this on another video. But I wanted out, and I got an attorney close to my ninth grade school, my middle school or junior high, and they had this law office had a free consultation. I said, well, that's perfect, because I need to know, like, what I need to do before I just go ahead and jump into this and start paying someone. So I go in for my free consult. They said, I talked to the receptionist. They said, okay, somebody will be with you in a minute for your consult. Just sit here. And who walks in but Anne-Marie? Now she's my attorney for my divorce. It's one of those weird things where I just kept running into her in, like, the strangest situation that I would never put all these things together. Now she's an attorney. And it was just one of those funny things. So now we come to the part of the story where I'm going to tell you why I'm afraid of heights. I realize we're at 30 minutes already. So Jackson and Alex go to a Cub Scout camp. They go to this yearly jamboree thing, if you will. And if you have family and scouts, you know what I'm talking about. It's like an end of the summer. The parents come and everybody has, fun things to do, and you get a tour. And so it was me and Marcy, and then we met up with Jackson and Alex, and we did the whole camp thing. We did some fun things, had lunch, blah, blah, blah. And they suggest that we do a little hiking. So we do some hiking through the trails, and we come upon the parking lot where the buses were, where all the buses that brought the campers, and they were just regular school buses, and they were parked somewhat underneath this big rope bridge. Now, the way that I remember it, which I might be misremembering because it seems a little dangerous to do it this way, but the rope bridge was made of these wooden slats held together by rope, and it went up in the air over the school buses. So how tall is a school bus? 10 feet maybe? So this was, I'm going to say, maybe 15 feet. So 15 feet in the air. The sides, as I remember them, were completely open. It was the rope bridge held together with the wood and the rope, and then you would hold on to the ropes on the side, and then that's how you would make it across this bridge. So Alex and Jackson go up, Marcy goes up, I follow in the back. This is going to be easy. I've climbed trees before and I know what to do. We're getting up onto so we go up the incline and now we're kind of standing on the flat part of the bridge and all we have to do is just walk across. Maybe like 50 feet, not that far. And all of a sudden, the rope bridge starts swinging and bouncing up and down. And it's these kids behind me, these scouts, who thought it would be funny to scare the girls on the bridge. Well, it was at that moment that for the first time in my life, I became paralyzed with fear. I could not go forward and I couldn't turn around because these idiots behind me were jumping up and down on the bridge. And Marcy and Jackson and Alex were like down the bridge already. So it's me standing there by myself, frozen with fear, and these kids behind me, yelling and screaming to get moving, whatever. So I don't know what came over me. I don't know even how I got this in my head that it would be a better idea than taking a step forward, but I jumped off of the bridge and onto the school bus. I jumped for my life off the bridge. And I remember taking a step, and I remember thinking about it in my head. I don't really know how far off the ground it was. I didn't fall for that long, but it was enough. And I remember jumping off, and I remember Marcy screaming. I remember a blood-curdling scream. And then I thought I was going to get in trouble. And I hear the kids behind me like, oh my God, did you see that? Did you see she just jumped off the bridge? And I slid down the windshield of the bus and I got on the ground and I'm just standing and everybody's just staring at me. And I couldn't believe that I did that. And from then on, I became very afraid of heights. I don't know if it's a true fear or if I'm just remembering that feeling of just being paralyzed. And I mean, I was a kid and I was never afraid before, but just that feeling of not being like my body just froze. I couldn't move. I could not move even if I wanted to. And I remember someone talking about his fear of heights. And his fear is completely different, but I understand where he's coming from. He says he's afraid of heights because if he gets too close to the edge, he's afraid he won't be able to stop himself from jumping. And I thought that was really interesting. But for me, if I stand too close, my stomach immediately fills with butterflies and I start heavy breathing and I get that same paralyzing feeling. And I've never had that before. And to this day, I cannot get on anything high or a ride or anything. Ferris wheels, forget it. Nothing. And I think that day was the day that brought this all on. And that's going to be it for now. I'm going to get my other idea together and then roll that out. Again, it will probably be a playlist. So we'll do it that way. So have a great day, everybody. This is